Hello and welcome to Jerry's Live. My name is Michaela and I will be your host today. Now today we are going to be talking about alcohol ink techniques. Now I've been playing around with this medium for a little bit now and I've found some really useful tools and surfaces, and tonight I'm going to show you my favorite. But before we get into that, if you are interested in anything that I'm using tonight, don't forget we have that class code. Today is going to be JL364. If you type that code in our JerrysArtarama website on the search bar, it will pop up with all of the materials that I'm using. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I wanted to create a landscape tonight. I wanted to show you how to control this medium to create something that's a little bit more realistic. If you think about alcohol ink, you think about those really beautiful, colorful, abstract pieces of art. But I wanted to show you that this is just like any other medium. You have to find a way to control it and use it the way that you want to create what you want. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I found, and let's go ahead and jump right on in. Now, to start off, I have a set that is on our website, which is going to be a complete set of items that has everything you need to just get started. And with this is going to be our C set from Artfinity. It has, I believe, 7 colors, plus a synthesis Artfinity pad, as well as a bottle of silver ink, and a 25 pack of 9x12 crystal seal bags. There are a few of those in that Artfinity area where we have not just the C set. I believe we have 9 sets currently on our website. I'm using 2 of them tonight, so the other one that I'm using is going to be our Moody Zombie set. The Moody Zombie set and the C set, along with maybe our Peach set, those are going to be my favorites. Just because of what they have to offer. The Moody Zombie set has some really fun colors, which I'll get into a little bit later. The C set has really nice variation of blues, some green and purple, really nice cool colors, and I am a sucker for some really nice cool colors. But let's go ahead and set up our little area to create some art. I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. This was a landscape that I created ahead of time, just to kind of show you guys an idea of what you can create. And if you're just now seeing this here, this is everything that you would get here in your set. Those colors, as well as that silver ink. And I have a 9x12 synthesis pad in these crystal seal bags. If you don't know about our crystal seal bags yet, these are perfect for storing your art, and they're amazing for these alcohol inks because they can end up with a slightly tacky surface when they're done. We'll talk about finishing that at the end. Now, I wanted to keep my table nice and clean, so I'm just going to put this down to protect the table, because it can get a little messy. So let me just grab one of these. And before we jump into creating a final image, I do want to show you what the different tools that I've picked can do, so that can give you a little bit more inspiration to create something on your own. Now I also have this porcelain, I believe it's English glazed, where's my box here? Here we go. English glazed porcelain. There's 20 wells in here. I love this because this is going to be basically my palette. It's going to keep all of my colors separated in their own little wells. And the great thing about alcohol ink is it does reactivate. So once it dries, I know it dries super fast, you can reactivate it and continue working with it. Alright. And I'm going to show you guys this one because this is also a super helpful tool when it comes to alcohol ink, but I won't be using it tonight, just for dry time. This is our Turner Artist Watercolor Masking Fluid. This is so great for when you want a crisp, clear, white area that you don't want any alcohol ink touching. You can use this to block out anything. I am going to show you a different alternative for bringing whites back instead of saving that white space. But the C set art here, this is how well that masking fluid can kind of hold away that ink if you want to save very specific spaces with that. All right, now here are my tools, as well as these. So I have the FX spatchers as well as the FX color shifters, which are going to be like a smaller version, and then some disposable detail brushes. Now the reason I'm using these is because if you use your really nice brushes with the alcohol ink, it can not be great for your brushes. So having these as an alternative, having something that isn't super precious to you, as well as something that doesn't have bristles. These are going to be very flexible, and they won't cling to that alcohol ink. It's super easy to clean when you use these. I'm also going to be using some things that you might have at home, which is going to be paper towel and Q-tips. But let's go ahead and show you what each of these things can do, and then we'll go ahead and create something with that. So I'm going to put all the colors from the C set in here. We have a question already?
You might have said something about this, but we're having a slight issue with Instagram and stuff. Have you explained how these are different than watercolor?
I have not.
Okay.
So these are going to be alcohol based, while watercolor is going to have a different binder. These are going to be fluid like watercolor, but they're going to dry a lot faster. They are able to be reactivated, but that's going to be with alcohol instead of water, which is what you use watercolor to reactivate with. But yeah, they do react a little bit differently. We're going to see that here in a second, but there is going to be a pretty big difference between both, even though they are both very fluid. So right now I've put in our grayish violet, ultramarine. I have Summit here. I love this bright blue color. And then some aquamarine. Do we have any other questions while I fill my palette here? Alright.
Ginger was wondering if they're sticky once they're dry.
They can be a little tacky. I was going to wait to the end to talk about how to set it, but I think mentioning that now isn't a bad idea. So it does have a slightly tacky surface when it's dry, if it's thick. If you don't have thick areas, it's not going to be quite as tacky. But if you have thick areas of this alcohol ink, it can get that stickiness. A great way to seal it is going to be a spray acrylic varnish. And I do want to say acrylic varnish because if you use a different kind of varnish, that can kind of eat at the surface. Yes, have a question?
We have actually a couple of them. Stephanie on YouTube was wondering, do they have strong odor?
They smell like rubbing alcohol, but not quite as strong. I always recommend a ventilated area. They're not crazy to the point where if you don't have your windows open, that's going to be like crazy bad. But yeah.
And the next question is, when you do use like isopropyl alcohol with them, does it matter what percentage that you use?
Different percentages are going to do different things. The 91% isopropyl alcohol is what I use. This is going to be what I found does the best. It doesn't repel a crazy amount, but it does pick up a really nice amount. I don't have a lot of information on the different percentages and the different kinds of alcohol, but that is my go-to for sure.
I think we had on another episode of Alcohol Inks, when we first came out with these, there was even the ethyl alcohol used in that episode.
Oh, okay.
I'll try and find the link for you guys. We do still have another couple questions though.
Sure.
How is the light fastness of alcohol inks?
I actually don't know the answer to that question.
They are dye-based.
Oh, okay.
So, not light fast at all.
Yes.
And then I think my last one for now is, can you use them with other media? With other mediums?
You can. I'm trying to think. You can layer. I don't know if it will mix with very many things because it is alcohol-based and not a lot of other things are alcohol-based. And if they are alcohol-based, it can reactivate. So mixing, I don't know about that one, but layering, you could put alcohol ink on top of watercolor if you wanted to. But the paper is going to have a big effect on how they react. So actually, I'll go into that. The paper, when you work with alcohol inks, you do want something that's going to be non-absorbent, especially if you want to work with it for a while it's still wet. If you don't want to, of course, you can use an absorbent paper or like watercolor paper. Of course, you can use those, but it's going to be harder to work with, and you'll have to discover different techniques on how to use it on that different surface. So tonight in particular, we are using the synthesis pad, which is kind of like a plasticky watercolor surface. So you could technically do watercolor on this surface and then layer the Artfinity Alcohol Ink. Another surface that you can use that is non-absorbent that I really enjoy with these alcohol inks is Alumicomp. So the aluminum surface is really nice and it shines through that ink, and it looks really pretty, which I actually have a sample. I did a landscape on a small Alumicomp surface, and if you don't know anything about Alumicomp, there are two different sides for this one in particular. There's a textured side and a smooth side, and I'm so sorry I did not put this on the teacher's cart because I was just going to show this as an example. But they're super easy to find on the website, Alumicomp. I use the textured side for this. You can use both. I really like the texture that shows through. I am going to use techniques that I used in this one in particular. Can we go to the side camera? There we go. So I really like how glowy it gets when that aluminum shines through. But any non-absorbent surface is so fun to work with when it comes to these alcohol inks.
Do you find that they're more or less translucent than watercolor?
I think they're a little bit more translucent. You can really tell on that aluminum surface that it really allows a lot of light to go through. But you can build it up to the point where it doesn't. All right, let's go ahead and see what our tools can do. I have some grayish violet here. I'm going to add some straight to the paper and start with our large spatchers. I have a 2-inch here, and it comes in a set of 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch. You can also, I believe, get just one of those sizes. But again, like I said, those bristles, this doesn't have that. It's just going to be, do we know what kind of material this is? Is this silicone? Rubber?
Hold on.
I think it might actually be silicone.
I don't think it is it?
I don't know.
Look at
All right. But it doesn't hold on to that ink a crazy amount. You can stamp it back off. Silicone, perfect. But this is really nice to help move around that ink. You can fill in an entire page just by moving it around. Once it dries though, it is no longer movable. So you could see once I started moving into other areas, it's completely dried on here. I can clean this off with alcohol. But once it is dry, it is no longer movable. Now I can reactivate it in one of two ways. We have a blender medium in the Artfinity set that you can add on. It will start moving that ink again. But then it is reworkable. You can start moving it around again. Alright. Now you can do the same thing with the little color shifters, which these are really nice for getting those small areas that you want to start filling in. So I'll add some straight to the paper. And I can move it around that way. I can also pick it up from my palette and tap it in and move it around, mix my colors together. These are really nice. Now the spatchers and the shifters, you're not going to have quite as much control, but it is going to help you move it around better than blowing on it or using one of those squeezy air guys. I don't know what they're called. But my favorite thing for details are going to be those detail brushes. These are actually really nice. You can still reuse them. I know they say they're disposable, but I keep using them only for my alcohol inks until the bristles are dead. So these are definitely reusable, but they're just not super precious bristles, if that makes sense. Now you can go straight in with wet alcohol ink, and you can see that it does kind of grow. Now it's been sitting there for a minute, so let me actually...
Now, while you're doing that, can you make a note of how quickly these are drying? Because somebody was asking about the drying rate in comparison to watercolor.
Okay. So this area that I just did with the color shifters is already dry. It dries very fast. This down here, the thinner area, is already starting to dry. This is still not quite dry, but I wanted to show you that straight out of the bottle, it can start to spread, but if you let it sit for a while, before it dries, of course, it will slowly start to dry and start to get a little bit tacky. That's what you want when you're doing details, so that you can retain thin lines and it doesn't grow or spread. Finding that nice sweet spot so that you can control it a little bit better. That's what's so great about having like the wells where you can just let your ink kind of sit there and slowly start to dry a little bit. It makes it easier to control with a brush for sure. Now cleanup is just going to be alcohol. I have that spray bottle here. And I'll show you, this brush is covered in alcohol ink. I'm just gonna spritz it. Even if it dries to like a hardened point, cleaning it with that alcohol gets it pretty clean. Squeaky clean, if I could say. Okay. So I also have these guys, which are home finds. I have paper towel and Q-tips. You can also use our rags that we always have in our teacher's cart. Those are also going to be great for this one. Now, for that Illumicomp landscape that I did, that background I did in one swipe, and I'm going to show you. If you have, let's grab, got aquamarine, ultramarine, and grayish violet. Now because they dry so quickly, I'm going to take the caps off of all of these and add them to my paper towel here. Just like that. And then you can swipe a nice gradient if you just start going back and forth. Really cute. You can always go back in and add more. But I love that when I need a large area to fill, I just use a paper towel and swipe it in. Now lastly, we have our Q-tips, which you can use to paint with, but I like to use it as an eraser. So I'll show you both of those. So here's my little Q-tip. Let's grab some green. You can paint with it, and especially if it's been sitting for a minute, it's not going to spread around a lot. It's kind of like a big fluffy paintbrush if you really need something right away and you ran out of your disposable brushes. I use it mostly for erasing. Now, because it is reactivatable, I don't know if that's a real word, but because you can reactivate it, if I soak this Q-tip in alcohol, if I use a lot, it's going to pool, so make sure you don't put too much on there or wait a second. You can pick it up and pull out your whites again. Now, if you have a really thick area of alcohol ink, you'll want to do a couple different passes. And since this is still a little wet, I can kind of pick up a little bit more. Now I got a cute little flower. But that is so great for picking up your whites. You don't have to worry about your whites ahead of time. It also makes softer edges for your whites. It is a great use in combination of your masking fluid. So if you mask something out like your clouds, peel that off once you're done putting in your sky color. You can go back in with that cotton ball and soften those edges so that it feels a little bit more fluffy. And with this guy, that is how I pulled out my clouds. So I did the whole page in this blue. I used my spatula to kind of pull the rest of the color down, which looks really nice in that water. And then I used the cotton swab to pick up my clouds and pick up that color again. But we're going to use all of those things again in this new piece that we're going to create. So let's grab a new sheet of paper, and the colors I have are that C set, so I have lots of blues, a couple of greens, a brown, and then I have the zombie set, which has green, brown, red, purple, and I want you guys to help me figure out what kind of landscape I'm going to do. I did not pick a reference photo. I just wanted to go purely on vibes today, so I want you guys to help me figure out what I'm going to add.
Here?
So I think with those colors, those are a lot of cool colors plus a couple of red options. So maybe my initial thought was like a wooded scene, maybe some hills, and like a barn. But I want you guys to give me some recommendations. I'm going to start with the background, and then as we go, if you guys have recommendations, I'll try and see what I can do with adding those in. But to fill my sky, I feel like we're going to go for daytime. So I'm using that paper towel to get started. Let's see. I feel like Summit is a good sky color, but it's very blue. So maybe we'll start with that duster white along the horizon. Kind of orangish. Then maybe a little bit of acai.
Sherry on Facebook says you should add a pond.
A pond? Alright.
Also gotten a request for tropical with palm trees.
Interesting. Tropical with palm trees.
For a cute little bunny hopping through the forest.
Cute little bunny hopping through the forest. Okay, I can attempt a bunny. Alright. It's gonna be my horizon. Let's get some in-between color in there. Maybe.
These inks are a lesson in how to let go of control.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
That's a good therapy lesson.
Yes,
They
this
have a lot
is...
of opposite ideas on things there.
Alright, I got my grade lavender, which is one of my favorite Artfinity Alcohol Inks. I think that's going to be my transition color into my blue. It's kind of a weird colored sunset right now. But we said tropical?
We've gotten tropical, we've gotten ocean, we've gotten field.
Ocean beach,
I've got my
lighthouse, field of trees and barn. Bunny.
Bunny. Alright. Bunny will have to be later on once I have the background in. But we can do tropical.
Ooh.
How can we put them all together? A stormy sunset on a tropical
Stormies
With a barn.
field
with a barn.
with a barn and a lighthouse in the back.
And a bunny, can't
hopping
forget
through
that.
But no, this was another challenge show.
Yep.
I think all the options.
Michaela really said, I just invite the chaos right now.
Yeah. Let's get a bit more. Ooh. Alright, and then I need a little bit more of a darker blue, which this ultramarine I dropped might be great.
Just thinking how lucky it was that had the cap on it.
Right.
Speaking of, is alcohol inks your favorite medium? And do you have any fun, chaos alcohol ink stories?
Ooh.
What we're doing currently?
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I really enjoy doing quick things with alcohol ink. What was the other part? I'm sorry. You said
Do you have any fun, chaotic alcohol ink
stories. There was one technique that I tried while in the middle of doing something, filming, and did not work out very well. I was not very patient. The technique was to put saran wrap over it while it's drying. It might have just been that I didn't wait for it to dry, but when I picked it up, it just went bleh. And I was like, all right.
It works really well with watercolors, but I feel
Yeah.
like it just didn't evaporate well.
If only they knew how many behind the scenes bloopers we have to all the
Yeah.
videos that we put out.
Alright, so I got an interesting gradient of colors here. I'm going to try and break it up with some clouds. I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other one. I'm soaking a cotton swab in some isopropyl alcohol. And basically anywhere where I see something that I'm not a fan of, I'm just going to put a cloud on it.
How brass of you.
It's just a happy little cloud.
Now while I'm moving this around, it does start to pool on the edges, that ink. So I'm just taking the other side or a clean side of my cotton swab and wiping that off so I don't get a crispy edge on the top of my cloud.
Now, is there a way to soften the red color if you decide that that's a little too intense?
Yeah, we can try it. Let's see. I would probably take paper towel again and either blending medium or the isopropyl alcohol and just try and pick it up a little bit. I actually like that a lot better.
Thank you, Shirley.
Yes,
On YouTube.
thank you, Shirley. Alright, I got some buildup on the top there, so I'm just going to smooth that out.
you using things that like I just have at my house that I would never have thought to use is like blowing my mind. Just even the paper towel vibe is crazy.
We have the exact same commentary happening over on YouTube.
That's what's so great about Alcohol Ink is you really have probably tools already that you could use if you have them already.
You like going to town with the Q-tip right now. I'm like, that is wow.
Alright. And in order to make it feel a little bit more realistic as a cloud, I'm going to go in to some of these areas and lighten the tops of them. Because clouds in real life have highlights on top, shadows on bottom. So I'm going to go in and lighten the top of some of these. Hopefully bring a little bit more realism up here.
And while you're doing that, the way that you are erasing the ink is due to the paper that you're working on, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And say if you use something that was a little bit more absorbent, like Bristol, you would not be able to do the same thing, right?
I haven't tested it. I'm not even gonna try. I wouldn't use this method with Bristol. This is the type of surface where I can lift it straight down to white. With Bristol, because it has a little bit more absorbency to it, you wouldn't really be able to bring it down to white. All right, let's add just a little bit more cloudness. And then we can go on to the bottom, which we're thinking, are we still thinking beach? Is that what we were looking at?
Yeah, I've gotten sandy beach, palm trees, sailboat.
Perfect. All right, so we'll do, I think the Duster White is a decent sand color. Now I'm going to use my spatula for this. And I have that purple on the other side, so I'm just going to use this side so I don't have to clean it. I'm just going to move it around until it's all over the place. I can be purposeful with like maybe making some footprints or texture. Maybe I want it a little bit higher on one side. And then I can go in with my shifters. I have this deer foot shape, which is perfect if I want to actually make potentially some feet prints in the sand. All right. Now, we do need water, I'm realizing. So we're gonna go in, let's use a Q-tip for that. I have a couple of blues in my thing here. My horizon is gonna be straight. Let me get some more summit. Where's that? There we go. Have another question?
Mm-hmm. Would you be able to mix the colors before you add them to the paper?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what's so perfect about this is even if you have two sets, it won't fill up all of the wells. You can use a couple extra to mix your own colors, or even if you have just one set, you can mix all the colors together to get an even more wide variety of things. But yeah, you can mix a couple in your thing and add it on there later. And just like the clouds, if I wanted to go back in here and add some foam or something in between my water in my sand, I could definitely do that. Which, maybe I will. I don't know what a rabbit is going to be doing on our sandy beach, but I plan on adding him.
Maybe he's having beach day.
Yeah.
Or she.
If I can control this enough to give him some sunglasses, I will. But we'll see. I don't know if you guys saw that. I went in with a wet cotton swab and then I went back in with a dry cotton swab. That's helping me pick up any wet ink that is still in the area that's not quite white yet. And I'm running out of cotton swabs. This will probably be the last thing I pull up. Alright. Now let's add some palm trees. So I want to add shadows down in the sand, but I want to know what I'm putting down there first. So let's jump to our brushes. We have a dark violet, so maybe I'll use that for my, oh, I have a slate gray. Let's use that with our brain, which is kind of like a purpley red brown. Goodness. On the topic of your ink bottles falling over, we have something coming soon. If you really enjoy your alcohol inks, we have a ink stand, which is going to hold 10 bottles. That'll be coming a couple months. Oh, any day? All right, any day. Keep an eye out for that. That's definitely something super handy that I enjoy, being able to put my bottles standing up. They don't fall over.
We're going to have to order all of them.
Yes. Alright, and I did mix up a color, so this is, if you guys didn't catch that, it's the slate gray and our brain. Which I'm making sure I don't have a ton on my brush, so that I can control how wide it's getting. I'm also trying to make sure that I'm picking up any color behind it, because it is a little see-through. I feel like I need a really thick trunk. Now, pine trees have really interesting texture. You guys see that? Put it up here for a minute. I remember I grew up in Michigan and I lived for a year down in Florida. And I remember seeing palm trees up close and really wanting to touch them. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're not fun to touch. Some of them are actually very dangerous to touch.
Did you learn that the hard way?
Yes. I saw that there's some poisonous palm trees that if you even touch the bark, it's like does something to your skin. So I recommend palm trees from a distance if you are not familiar with palm trees. But they have like this really like thick, it's not bark because they're not trees. They're like grass. They have have like a weird grassy texture. But long story short, I'm trying to create that texture. I'm trying to get thicker areas to create shadow. I'm gonna put it kind of to the left and in the middle. So I don't really know where my light source is. We're gonna make it up. And I'm gonna add a couple of these. Maybe I'll do one coming off right here and one right here.
We're getting so many bunny suggestions over on YouTube.
All right, what do we got?
Okay, so we got a bunny that's surfing,
Surfing bunny, all right.
a bunny driving a boat,
Okay,
a bunny hiding behind the palm tree,
all right.
What about a bunny Lisa hanging on the palm tree?
I will not be painting a bunny Lisa. I'm gonna say that now.
Just the beach bunny.
a bunny with a tiny captain's hat,
Oh.
Yes. All right, if I have time to make this bunny beach, I will.
like several bunnies everywhere.
Yeah, why not?
Now, I do have a technique question for you.
Yes.
Before we get distracted by all the bunnies. The tree that you're painting
Mm-hmm.
also contains alcohol in the ink. So why is it not melting or mixing the color underneath?
It is. I'm actually trying to do it purposefully because they are a little transparent when they're thinner. So I'm trying to kind of, especially this blue, I don't want a line going through there. So when I add this in, it does pick up what's underneath. But I'm applying it in a way where it doesn't look like it's bleeding everywhere.
Is that controlled with how much of the ink is on your brush?
Yes, it's also, this has been sitting here for a minute, and since it is a little bit more dry, it's a little bit more tacky, it's not going to move around if it's tacky. So that helps a lot. Alright.
Can you pull the whole thing here just a bit so everybody can see? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a glare down the corner. I was trying to, can you guys all see it if it's like right here?
You pull it down just a tiny bit more. There you go.
There
That's
we go.
better. It's hard to get all four platforms to be able to see everything perfectly.
Yeah. Alright, so I'm grabbing, I believe this is our Celadon green, and I'm just mixing it in with whatever I have left from this slate gray and brain color, because I want a dark green. And whoop, let's create our palm tree. It's going to start looking kind of spidery. And then I'll add all of my leaves, which I just pulled from that middle line and kind of consider gravity as I add my leaves. And I'm definitely going to need more ink. So let me go ahead and mix that up. So what did I say? Celadon green, slate gray, and brain. Have a question?
Yes. Karen on YouTube was wondering could you make your own alcohol inks by taking an India ink and mixing it with isopropyl alcohol?
I don't know the answer to that. I wouldn't.
Honestly, I don't think that's gonna work.
The alcohol will start to dissolve the stuff that's holding the pigment in
The binder.
Yeah, because India ink is pigment based, right?
Right.
Well,
But it has other things in it too.
Yeah.
The alcohol will work as a solvent to
like a
harm it.
resin.
Yeah. I don't
right?
think it would be archival.
Yeah.
For sure. There's other additives that don't play nice.
Yeah.
Great question though.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Another thing about landscapes, if you're making it up from your mind, is try to add as much randomness as possible. The less perfect a landscape looks, the more realistic it is. So even though I'm using the same technique with creating these leaves, I'm going to try and break it up, like maybe some areas don't have any leaves, maybe some areas kind of stick up. Same thing goes for the sky. My sky feels a little too perfect, so maybe I'll do like a hang gliding bunny or something.
Melanie on Facebook was wondering what would happen if you were able to spray alcohol directly on it, like from the spray bottle. I was thinking maybe in the sand might be a good spot for that.
Yeah, so let me grab this guy to help me block off the area, because if I spray it, it is going to go everywhere. So I'm going to block off my sky so my sky stays kind of clean. And then I'm going to kind of hold it far away and spritz it. Now you guys can kind of see as it starts activating with that dry ink, it creates a little bit of a speckly area. Which if you guys go to that dynamic, you might see it a little bit better. We'll see. Yeah, there we go. You can see in here where it creates that really nice speckly texture. And I could keep going to add more of that texture, for sure. Which I might do actually. And you can use different types of spray bottles to get different types of splatter from when you spray it. Even this one, if I kind of press down lightly, I'll get bigger splatters. If you spray too much, it can kind of obliterate any nice cell texture that you get, because those cells will just start fusing and turning into one giant area. I dry that off. I'm going to add just a touch more to my guys down here. Get rid of any of that texture in my tree trunks, which got some green in there, but that's okay. Alright, let's finish up our trees. And you can like add a dot in the center of your palm tree, for example, if that's what you're creating, and move it around with a spatula or your brush while it's straight on there. I've done that. It's definitely harder to control and you have to work a lot faster. But that is an option. Probably should have done the background tree before I did the foreground tree, but we live and we learn. Also, another thing to help with creating randomness is once you are out of a color and you need to make more, see if you can make it a slightly different color. Create more variation in the colors that you have. Randomness is key when you're creating landscapes. Now let's have this guy go off the edge. Maybe he's got a broken branch that goes like straight down. Pew pew. Alright. Grab some green because I'm getting pretty blue. let us know in the chat if you already work with alcohol inks or if you guys have already heard my moderators. Do we have anyone who already loves using this medium?
We have several people who have purchased them but haven't done a lot with them, and they are very excited.
Ooh, this is perfect then. All right. Well, color tree's good. Now that I have my trees in there, I can create some shadowy areas in my sand, which I can just grab a different brush. And I really like that brain color. Where'd that go? Here we are. It's like a really nice warm kind of gray color. It's really pretty.
Grayish pink.
Mm-hmm. Grayish pink. That's a good color.
Great color.
Yep. Good description. Maybe I'll add a little bit of shadow underneath this tree. You guys see that? Maybe. I'll pretend there's another shadow right here. There we go. And then those little footprints that I made, I'm gonna try and bring those out again. So it looks like people or bunnies, I don't know, are walking through the sand. Maybe some kind of hilly areas. Again, we don't want perfect. We want shadows, highlight, and randomness. And then maybe... Okay, so remind me, we have bunnies. I know this. What were some of the other things that could potentially go in here? Let's add our first bunny. I think... Do these need to be realistically colored bunnies? Alright. Purple bunny it is. And then we'll add a red bunny. It'll be great. It'll be a rainbow of bunnies. Alright. Okay, we'll do a sunbathing bunny, if I can kind of imagine what that looks like. It's got a big belly. Kind of like a chicken shape. Are we able to see my bunny? It's kind of light right now. Alright, I'll show you guys up close here in a second. Alright, here's my sunbathing bunny minus any shadows. There he is. He's just relaxing in the sand. Let's give him some dimension. I have another purple over here. Grayish violet. Again, you want to control that ink. So since I just poured this out, I'm making sure I don't have a lot on my brush. Now I'm going to go in and create some shadow in my bunny. Now, is this the type of beach where our rabbits are wearing swimsuits or, okay.
A bunny in a bikini.
That's
Definitely
that's
suggestion.
And also sea turtles have been suggested.
Yeah.
Oh, sea turtles. Now, are the sea turtles on the beach or in the water? That is the question.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Can you see him? He needs sunglasses. Let's see.
Yes.
Gonna mix some dark colors
He's so
together.
good.
Starting to make Amanda upset over here. with
He's
how
much
cute
better
he
than your
looks.
stop sign, Les.
Thank you.
If anybody's interested in seeing the stop sign, feel free to watch a show from
Yes.
last week.
Check out our first live of the year. I feel like I'm not allowed to say what he looks like, so I'll just let you guys have your own thoughts.
He's gonna keep going and going and going.
Alright, so we got one bunny there.
I feel like this is the only time he's actually stopped and relaxing.
Alright, so we need a sea turtle. Alright.
Now, whilst you are painting that, I did have
Yes.
somebody ask about how you would finish a piece like this, whether you would varnish it or frame it under glass, or how would you approach that?
If you can frame it or varnish it. If you frame it, please make sure you have a space between the top of your painting and the glass, so there's not any adhesion between the two. So having a frame that allows that space is perfect. And then you can varnish it. You can use a spray acrylic varnish, so it doesn't mess with your surface. Always do a test before you do your finish, just in case something crazy happens with your combination of items. Testing is always great. Alright, is the sea turtle... I think he's also on his back, hanging out with the rabbit. He's just gonna be green. Doing the same pose.
It's the tortoise and the hare after the race.
Yeah. They escaped to go live in Fiji or something. It's kind of a creepy looking turtle. But he's okay. I don't think he needs sunglasses. But what do you guys think? Should we give him sunglasses?
Yes.
Alright. Sunglasses it is.
We have a comment on YouTube that says, if he's on his back, he won't be able to flip back over.
Oh! Okay,
So
maybe
Aaron will help
he's
him.
tanning his
Eric
back.
Extra.
How dare he? Okay. He is on his back. He's tanning his shell.
And he has a bunny friend.
Mm-hmm. And they're just chatting. They're having a good time. Let's give him some shadow. Doop,
Robin on Facebook is wondering if you wanted to go back and add like a color to the red sky or like a line of yellow, orange on the top of the water, would you be able to do that? Or do you think it's
at this point, it would be really difficult because if you wanted to do it the same way using the paper towel, you have things in the way now. That's just going to pick up your trees. If you go in with a cotton swab in a yellow, you could paint it in, but you'd have to be very careful with what you put over top of it. So you could. Just be very careful. Oh, he looks so sad. Can you guys see his little eyeball? Alright, let's...
Elizabeth said don't forget his little turtle tail. I'm afraid he might not.
I know, I was kind of avoiding that part, just in case. We'll give him a little tail. There we go. I think he needs more blue of a shell. I need to reactivate some of this. Alright. Add some texture to his shell so it looks like he's on his stomach, because now I'm worried about this turtle's safety. Alright. So I think I need to add some shading under them. I still have that brain color, which is perfect. Alright, what else were we thinking about adding? Ooh, I might add some birds in the sky. Seems a little...
Classic.
Yeah. A little cliche, but why not? Birds are fun. Alright, actually, it is 6:30. Wow. I guess that's all we get today. We got turtle in the hair hanging out in Fiji. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys are able to use these in your studio and use these techniques that you learned. Because this is a very fun medium. It does kind of have this cloud over it of this is an abstract medium, but of course, if you guys have seen me on the show before, I love challenging myself to use something that is traditionally abstract and try and make it realistic. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely join us next time. Next week we have Emmy on, and she's going to be talking about acrylic and oil. Ooh, do they mix? Do they not mix? Ooh, I don't know. We'll find out next week. And if you guys have not joined our Facebook group, don't forget to join that. And if you have not joined it, there is that one security code, so don't forget to answer that before joining. But thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you next time. Bye.